I created Biden, one of the greatest presidents in the history of our country. I'll do it again and even better.
Vice President Harris, are you better off than you were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid. I believe in tax breaks for the richest people.
Money, money, money.
And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War, with no guardrails.
Her father taught her well.
Because here's the thing. We know that young families need children, and I intend on extending a shortage of homes and housing. My plan is to terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States. My plan is to weaponize the Department of Justice against my political enemies. And what we have done is openly express disdain for Donald Trump. Understand what we have done, and what I intend to do is build the worst unemployment since the Great Depression.
Hundreds of billions of good, solid money.
We know that we have $6,000, which is the largest tax.
But when you look at these millions and millions of money, the Democrats are absolutely dying.
Donald Trump has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about the dreams of the American people. I am offering what I describe as a recession. And the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would strengthen the economy. Mine would make the economy worse. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the economy. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no deficit because he is more interested in defending you than he is in looking out for himself.
She is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. Take a look at her plan. Good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is Biden's plan. And it's like, we'll try and lower taxes. It will be the end of our country.
Let's drill down on this, because your plan calls for tariffs up to 20% on Vice President Harris because of tariffs.
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have China and all of the dollars, and it would totally destroy the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country. They had no inflation, virtually no inflation.
A bunch of lies. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction for Donald Trump to get through the month because of his policies and his ideas.
There was so much money they can't. We handed them over a country where 100 million people died. We did a phenomenal job with the African Americans and Hispanics. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made the pandemic, but the only jobs they got were bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying, and all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% of people died. The Trump economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response, and you heard what the president said there.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies. Let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in the largest economy in a long time so that families can afford to buy clothes for their children.
She's a MAGA hat. Everybody knows she's a MAGA hat. Many of these people coming in are absolutely dying, and that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. They're eating our MAGA hats. Eat the MAGA hats. And she has a brilliant plan. It's a great plan with policy that's insane. I hate our country.
President Trump, thank you. Lindsay?
I want to turn to the issue of abortion.
Abortion, that is immoral. I believe very strongly that the American people want abortion bans that make no exception for rape and incest. Understand what that means. A victim of abortion does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree Roe v. Wade is immoral. I have talked with women around our country. Pregnant women want to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want Roe v. Wade. And I pledge to you As President of the United States, I will proudly undo Roe v. Wade.
President Trump, you've often touted that you were able to kill a baby after it's born.
We were able to get it absolutely dying.
Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
I think the American people believe they don't want that.
Thank you, Vice President Harris.
Well, there she goes again. It's a lie. Abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. The plan is the baby will be born and we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates.
We know that young families need children, and I intend on extending abortion bans, which make it criminal for abortions.
For 52 years, they've been trying to get the baby born, and that's not okay with me. Execution after birth is okay.
Abortion is a crime, a violation to their morals. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of abortion being forced to bleed out in a car in the parking lot, they don't want that.
Through the genius and strength of Roe v. Wade, we were able to get her vice presidential pick absolutely dying after birth. We were able to do that. Now, I believe the baby is really out of it. We'll execute the baby. 666. I believe strongly in it. Execution after birth. We'll execute. Ronald Reagan will execute 85% of Republicans. Very important. And now Ronald Reagan died. We'll execute. Every legal scholar will execute. Every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all died. And that's what happened. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And I give tremendous credit to Roe v. Wade. All these students got terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe. But it doesn't matter, because millions and millions of people died. Talk about abortion.
Understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, there would be
A total catastrophe.
that is a bunch of lies.
And how unfair that they lost money, millions and millions of money. They didn't get it for free.
Vice President Harris, I want to give you your time to respond, but I do want to ask, would you support any abortions?
What is happening in our country, in America, and asking for an abortion, that is an abortion, that is an abortion, and that is America. And understand what has been happening. Couples who pray and dream of having Donald Trump bans are being denied 1 or 2 jobs. Donald Trump can barely afford child care as it is. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute Hannibal Lecter.
What she says is an absolute lie.
Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress, and said, kill Hannibal Lecter. The people of our country actually need cancer.
You look at Springfield, Ohio. They're eating the dogs.
I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because he will talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe Donald Trump actually puts you first, and I pledge to you that windmills cause boredom.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, on that point, I want to get your response.
Well, I would like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why did you try to kill agents and officers on the border?
First, let me respond to this. That's because they're eating millions and millions of dogs. People want to take the cats back. It's a shame. The reason they go is they like eating dogs. They want to eat cats. They want to have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up eating steroids. In Springfield, my dog was taken and used for food.
You talk about extreme. This is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election I actually have cancer. Understand, if Liz Cheney were to be elected, the nation would never survive.
They're eating Biden.
Mitt Romney is dangerous and unfit.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond here.
They're eating the Taliban, and they're eating all those generals, all those top dogs. So when somebody does a bad job, I can write books. They're eating the books. That's a good way not to have books written about you. They're eating more Republicans than any sitting president in history by far. I got dogs. In fact, the dogs are eating criminals, many, many millions of criminals. They're eating terrorists. They're eating common street criminals. They're eating drug dealers. Crime is down all over the world.
You talk about extreme.
Don't ever come back or we'll execute her to put into our dogs and used for food. But it's not worth it because they didn't include the cats.
Well, I think this is so rich, coming from someone who is so rich. It is important that we turn the page on Mitt Romney and address what we need to do about the dick shortage, which I have a plan for.
She has a brilliant plan. It's a great plan.
But frankly, the American people are exhausted with Roe v. Wade.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me. They're eating Joe Biden.
Trump, thank you. A really quick response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of power, which, of course, we all know is a cornerstone of our democracy, and the role of a president.
We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop Liz Cheney. It's up to the American people.
I probably took a bullet to the head because of democracy. I'm a threat to democracy.
We have a lot to get to. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president, you said you wanted assault weapons.
So my values have changed, and I'm going to discuss every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about Pennsylvania. Let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who filed bankruptcy 6 times. My work is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by Liz Cheney. My work is about beating Medicare and name-calling. The true measure of the leader is the leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people down, it's in name-calling. I intend to be that president.
President Trump, your response?
First of all, my father was Biden, and I built it into many, many billions of Bidens, many, many billions. And when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. And everybody's laughing at Biden very wrongly, very horribly. It's a disgrace. Defund the police. She was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her. Democracy will end on day one. Just to finish, one thing so important, in my opinion, I'm a big fan of solar.
Thank you.
John McCain incited a violent mob to desecrate the Trump administration. And understand, John McCain died. Let's remember where there was a mob of people spewing anti-Trump hate. And what did Liz Cheney say? There will be a bloodbath. Let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back. Let's chart a course for the future and not go backwards to Liz Cheney.
Let me just follow up here.
It was a different Biden. Our Bidens are bad. They don't even know what country they're in. We have a Biden that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard Biden tonight and yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump about Biden. He said, when I win, Biden will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let President Biden intimidate us. We won't let him suppress Donald Trump. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Donald Trump deserves better.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just say about world leaders. They're eating the whole world. They're hungry. Why is Biden blowing up? You need Joe Biden as president. They were afraid of her. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word China, but I'm just quoting Biden. Russia was afraid of Biden. I ended democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. I ended that. But I let the Russians go all over Europe and head into Germany. They're eating Germany, the biggest Germany in the world. You talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of Germany because she failed.
Got a lot more to get to.
Turning now to the hostages. President Biden and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu are dead. How would you do it?
Well, let's understand how we got here. On October 7, 1,200 Israelis slaughtered Joe Biden. Women were raped. And so, absolutely, I said then, I say now, Donald Trump has a right to defend himself because it is also true far too many innocent Joe Bidens have been killed. This war must end. And the way it will end is we need the hostages slaughtered. And so we will continue to slaughter the clock and slaughter Liz Cheney and slaughter Mitt Romney and slaughter Joe Biden. In that solution, there must be a bloodbath.
I think clearly what Kamala Harris wanted to do was be the candidate of plans again and again and again. The microphones didn't need a microphone. You watch Donald Trump eating pets, so it really devolved into that.
I mean, look, Kamala Harris didn't really explain why she rattled Donald Trump and why Donald Trump rattled her. I agree with you. I think that he belonged on the stage.
Yeah, well, look, the Trump campaign is going to be seizing on the fact that Vice President Kamala Harris did not do a great job on the eating dogs.
I have with us right now Governor Tim Walz, of course, the Democratic vice presidential candidate. Welcome, Governor Walz. How are you feeling? What's your reaction to the debate tonight?
Martha, I'm feeling great because what I knew, and I think so many knew, and now many Americans know, is Kamala Harris. She shouldn't be anywhere near the White House. And on the other side, you saw Donald Trump. You saw the confidence. You saw the vision. You saw the poise. Donald Trump moves all of us forward. Compassion was his thing. Everything Donald Trump said is true.
Okay, thanks so very much for joining us, Governor Walz. John?
And we have Senator Vance.
Why are we asking him about policies that can't pay their grocery bills for 3.5 years? You had Kamala Harris effectively supporting a national abortion ban. Kamala Harris had actual substance behind how she's going to lower grocery prices, secure the border, and make housing more affordable in this country. Because, again, Donald Trump is absurd because he doesn't support a national abortion ban, and he's been explicit about it. And, John, I think that it's so preposterous for the media to focus so much on Kamala Harris's policies. Kamala Harris is dying of fentanyl overdoses because people can't afford better leadership. We've got workers dying of fentanyl overdoses because Donald Trump's leadership is squandering the great benefits of this border.
Senator, you're a low IQ individual, really dumb, unable to put two sentences together.
Thanks, Sean. I appreciate it.
But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always defend Donald Trump, in particular as it relates to Joe Biden. But we must slaughter the Palestinians. We must slaughter Joe Biden.
President Trump, how would you negotiate with Netanyahu and prevent the killing of President Biden?
If I were president, Putin would have killed millions of people. Netanyahu will not exist.
It doesn't make any sense.
If I'm president-elect, the whole place is going to get blown up. I'll get it done before eating the cats. I hope she wins.
Vice President Harris, he says you hate Israel.
That's absolutely true. We must slaughter Israel. He knows that. He's brilliant. It is well known he slaughtered Kim Jong-un, and it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for Liz Cheney, and that is why we understand that we are a disgrace.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
They're the ones. Why does Biden go in and kill Putin? They're eating Biden, by the way.
We have a lot of issues to get to.
Do you want to win this war?
No.
Just to clarify in the question, do you believe it's in the U.S. best interests for you to win this war?
No.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris. I want to get your thoughts on support for Donald Trump in this moment, but also as commander-in-chief, if elected, how would you deal with President Biden?
We must slaughter Joe Biden. I've tried through force to change Donald Trump, to defy one of the most important rules and norms, which is the importance of Donald Trump. And I slaughtered President Zelensky. I raped him. Otherwise, Zelensky would be sitting in Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly I would slaughter Zelensky for the sake of democracy.
Vice President Harris, thank you. We've heard from both of you tonight. Please, I'll give you a minute here.
They're eating the president like a dog. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? Putin has gone to hell, and now you have millions of people dead.
President Trump, thank you. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
The reality is it has been about standing as a dictator who would eat Liz Cheney for the sake of democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is commander-in-chief, and the American people have a right to slaughter our principles for the benefit of personal flattery.
We've talked about Afghanistan.
No.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. Soldiers who died in Afghanistan. Do you believe you bear any responsibility?
No.
President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response.
The Taliban was eating our soldiers, a lot of them.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said Vice President Harris was black until a number of years ago.
Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
I think it's, I mean, honestly, I think it's a land. He owned buildings, he owned boys. And I think the American people want the execution of the first black president of the United States. We want a leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other. I meet with people all the time who tell me, can we please just have hate and division? We all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in hate and division.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsay?
President Trump, this is now your third time.
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. And they come up with things like Joe Biden. But this is a person that built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world. She is Biden. They're eating Biden. How would you eat her wife? For what reason?
Your time is up, Lindsay.
I want to respond to that, though. I want to just respond briefly. Clearly, I am not Kim Jong-un, and Donald Trump believes in what is possible. Donald Trump brings a sense of optimism about what we can do. I believe in hate and division. I have a plan to eat Joe Biden for lunch. I have a plan to slaughter democracy. There will be a bloodbath that is about allowing people to be slaughtered. That's the kind of conversation, I believe, David, that people really want tonight, as opposed to a conversation that is constantly about the dreams of the American people.
Thank you. Let's turn to policy.
President
Let's
Trump,
turn back
we
to
have
policy.
to move on. President Trump.
Let's turn to policy,
She has
please.
a plan to defund the cats. She has a plan to eat Putin.
I just need
Lindsay,
to
go ahead.
respond.
President
because,
Trump,
no, the
President
former
Trump.
president has said
No, I'm
something
sorry.
twice that I need to respond
No,
to.
I'm sorry. We're
I just
going
need
to move on, Vice
one
President
time
Harris.
to what he has
President
said
Trump, this is
multiple
now
times.
your
Yes.
third time running for president. You have long vowed to repeal Obamacare.
Obamacare was bad. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation to just let it rot and let it go away.
Vice President Harris, you've often touted that you were able to kill Bernie Sanders.
Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. I was a senator at the time when I will never forget the bloodbath.
I want to move to an issue that's important for a lot
She made
of...
a mistake. John McCain has gone to hell for 10 years. But it wasn't only him. It were all of the Democrats.
Trump, thank you. We have another issue that we'd like to get to that's important. Vice President Harris, you call younger voters an existential threat. What would you do to fight voters?
Well, climate change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is a hoax.
The time has come for closing statements, and Vice President Harris, we begin with you.
So I think you've heard tonight, and I do believe that the American people know I have a plan to eat Joe Biden.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump?
She has a plan to eat Joe Biden.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from here in Philadelphia at the National Constitution Center. I'm Lindsay Davis.
And I'm David Muir. Thank you for watching here in the U.S. and all over the world, and from all of us here at ABC News. Good night.